Are you a flute player, or do you know a flute player who is going to be playing some Star Wars theme music? You know those Santa flute hats? Got one better. Today we are going to make a Flute-Saber. I know, it's really cute. Welcome. This is Kristen here on Enchanted Yarnworks, and I'm super glad that you found a way over here. Today we are going to jump into this fun Star Wars themed idea with making a Flute-Saber for your favorite flute player, or if you are a flute player, for yourself. It's the perfect accessory to go with that Star Wars music that is going to be played probably around Star Wars Day, which is coming up on May the 4th, of course. So if you're not subscribed, please consider doing so and make sure that notification bell is dinged, and please consider hitting the like button so you can show me some love and let me know you like the video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the Star Wars universe and make this super fun, super cute, glow in the dark Flute-Saber. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm excited to show these to you. I think they're super fun, especially for Star Wars Day or anything Star Wars related, Star Wars concert, any of that. Anyways, so this is kind of what our final product is going to look like. As you can see, your head joint goes right there. And there's a couple ways to do this. The little yellows in there are the glow-in-the-dark thread. It does glow in the dark, as you saw in the pictures previous. And then there's a little button I put on there and some stitching. So it's really simple. We have two parts and then putting it together and then doing the decorating part. What we're using today, two different hook sizes, because we're going to be using the knit stitch for our hilt. So we are going to be going up a size. So we need a 4.5 millimeter hook and a 4 millimeter hook. These are Clover Amours. I bought them as a set on Amazon. I do have them linked down below if you're interested in snagging some. Otherwise, any hook that you prefer will work, of course. Stylecraft Special DK yarn. We are using bright green and black for our edging. And then for the hilt, we are using King Cole double knit in silver. Give that metallic metal look. We will also need our little bead button. I just snagged one out of this set that I have that I got off of Amazon a while back. I can link these down below for you guys if you're interested. You know, there's just different colors. That's a silver one. There's gold, antique gold, like different things, like a rose gold. This is the glow-in-the-dark thread. It is really kind of cool. It comes in a set of 4. I will link down below as well. Not an affiliate for this, so it's just public information for you. But these are actually fun. They glow really well. We also need just regular needles, some stuffing, polyfill material, and of course, a pair of scissors and a yarn needle. So everything that I have linked down below, minus of course the thread here, in Amazon, and then also in Lovecrafts if you want to try to get yourself some Stylecraft Special yarn. I'm an affiliate for, so disclaimer, got to get the legalese out of the way. I will receive a little commission for that if you do decide to use those links. Also, I do just have some thread that kind of matches my little button, just regular sewing thread also for that, to put that on. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. First, we are going to be making the base, or the hilt, whatever you want to call it. And we need our King Cole yarn for that. This is actually a pretty quick process. So we're starting out with the 4.5 millimeter hook, because we're going to be doing, like I said, the knit stitch or waistcoat stitch. I don't know why I struggle to say that word sometimes. Okay, so we need a longer tail. There's a couple ways to do this. You can have the long tail so that you can stitch up the sides. Here I have one that's not put together, so you can stitch up the back before we do the top, because that's what we're going to do. It's going to look like this. It's like a really big thimble, I guess you could say. Or you can just do a regular tail and a really long finishing tail, and then we will put this together, and then you can stitch down the bottom to the bottom with the same if you want. It's up to you. I'm going to we'll see how I feel today. So slip knot, and then we're chaining 13. And then we're going to go back, and we're going to use the back bumps for this. And I'm loosely, because we're doing that knit stitch or that waistcoat stitch, I want to loosely do these single crochets so that it makes it easier to go into those stitches as we continue on. So we're going to go back in the second loop, and we're just going to do single crochets all the way back in that back bump, and that'll give us 12 single crochets. And the reason why we're doing that back bump is because I like to have that flat edge on the bottom that you get. It gives you that nicer finished edge like this, as you can see, opposed to having like just one loop. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's just a personal thing for me. Let me go ahead and zoom in just a little bit, because it kind of feels like I'm a little far away on the camera. So what we're doing is we're making a flat piece. I didn't explain that earlier, sorry. A flat piece that we're stitching together, and then making the round on top, and that puts it all together. Okay, so then next we are not chaining on these turns because it just gives excess bulk on the sides, and we don't need that. So we're just going to turn. Okay, and now we're knit stitching 11 over, and for that knit stitch you're going to go in between the legs of that stitch, I guess you could say. Let that kind of zoom. Underneath the loops. Okay, if I can get there. I guess I did this too tight. Okay. This is why I say to do this loosely, because you may think it's too loose, but then when you try to go into the stitch like this, it gets a little cumbersome. So you definitely want to have it looser. But as you can see, it makes it nice knit looking stitch. Okay, so that was 11, and now we need 12 single crochet. So in this last space here, it's not technically, excuse me, it's not technically a chain turn, but it's a space. We are going to do our last, just a single crochet there. Definitely keeping it loose, right? And then we're turning, and we're going to continue to do this for six more rows. So we'll have a total of 8 rows. And then we get to start the top. But as you can see, as we go looser with our stitches, it makes it easier to work that knit stitch in the space. And Milo's with me, so he's poking his little head into the camera. Kind of going slow so you can see where I'm going in for these stitches. And as you see, I am keeping this quite loose. I mean, I could probably go up another hook size, but I just am staying aware about how loose I work these stitches. So again, go in. Sometimes it might be a little easier if you hook it like that to go through, like so. But let me see if I can get a little bit closer. As you see, you have the 2 legs of the back side of the stitch here and here, and we go right in between there. And as you see, that's how it looks with our single crochets. It's a little easier and feels easier with bigger yarn. It just feels and probably looks very awkward right now with me doing it with this small yarn. It's just because of how I have to hold it. Let's make sure I have 11 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then remember that last one is just a regular single crochet in this space here that is where you turn to go the other direction. It's not a chain. It's not a chain 1 because we didn't do a chain 1. It's just that space there and just a regular single crochet. And then there we turn again. So that's the first of our 6. So we have 5 more to go. So I will go ahead and pause and continue this, and you can continue on your end. And I will see you at the end of row 8. Okay, so this is the end of the 6 rows. Now we're going to change our hooks to the smaller 4mm from now on. You don't need the 4.5 anymore. But before we move further, you can go ahead and measure this to make sure we have the right size. So it's looking at 2.5 inches currently by 1.5 inches. Or if we want to go centimeters, that's about what, 4 centimeters by 6.5 centimeters. Sorry, that was out of frame. So we are going to work the last row before we do the circling part with a smaller hook, because we want to kind of get it more secure and less loose, I guess you could say. Okay, so then we're back to the because we're going to go into consistency here. So we need to make it a little bit tighter at the top because the round part we want to be a little bit tighter. We want this to be a little tighter so that it's not so loose when it gets put together. Okay, so we're just going to do the same thing. 11 knit stitches all the way down, and then 12 is in that last space. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then in that last turn space there is our 12th single crochet. Okay, so now we turn, and we are going to be working back loop only. We're going to switch to a yarn under method, like I said, to kind of get it tightened up just a little bit. And we're only going to be doing back loop only, like I said, 12 single crochets. Okay, so we start here. So the point of this back loop only is so that, actually before we move on, we're finishing this side. It's on the same side as our starting tail. That way you know you've done the right amount of rows. Okay, so now why are we doing this back loop only? The reason why we're doing the back loop only is because we're going to make this little ridge here that gives us the front loops, and that's going to allow us to put together, because we're going to stitch together the hilt with these front loops, and we're going to do a back loop only over here on the blade part, and that's how we stitch those together before we turn and make the circle in the middle. Okay, so just regular single crochet from now on, yarn under method, just to give it more stability and it won't be as loose. Again, I did not chain, because when you put a chain in, when we go to seam this together, it makes it really loose on the sides, and that's why I chose not to do a chain for the turn. Okay, so there we have. Now you see it's already starting to kind of turn because we made it a little bit tighter. So now at this point we can pause and we could stitch this up together like so, and then we work around, or we can just work it around and we'll stitch it all together at the end. I'm just going to work it all the way around and stitch it together at the end. So all we're doing next is we're going to come over and do decreases. So we're going to decrease 6 decreases. And just go straight into that first stitch. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have these here. Okay, so yes, now we have what may look a little awkward, but we have the top here. We're going to seam this together. We're going to close up the top, and this is going to go all the way down. So I'm going to take a long tail, My scissors. My yarn needle. So, like I was saying, you could seam this up first before we closed around the circle, before we made the circle, if you feel more comfortable doing it that way. Either way works just fine. So yes, this may seem a little awkward. But this doesn't have to be perfect here on the top because it's going to be covered by the blade of the saber. So I'm just going to put this together like so, right? And now I'm going to move my hook out of the way. Now I'm going to go ahead and stitch this closed. Making sure I do not utilize the front loops from going around. Okay, so here is what this finished part looks like. Here's the top. I went back up the seam a little bit to reinforce it some more. Now when we do the decorative bits, like the base and the lines, if there's any kind of like messy bit that you have, you can always just stitch over it. And like I said, the top here is not going to be shown because it's going to be covered by our blade. So I'm going to set this aside and we're going to go ahead and start the blade part. And for that, we will need our color of Stylecraft Special, whatever color you decide, and our Wonderfill glow-in-the-dark sewing thread. And how we work this together, we're using our 4mm hook as well. How we work this together is, okay, so first we have to make, before we make a slip knot together, we have to make a knot. We have to make a big loop like this, okay? And I'm going to make a knot like that. Now this part, now we turn it so the loop is going to our left, and this part here is what we're going to make our slip knot with our yarn with. It may seem a little confusing in the beginning. It's okay. It'll make sense. Just a minute. All right. Now you can do this without the glow in the dark option. I just think the glow in the dark bit gives it something else. And you know, if I could find DK yarn in the colors that I want that glow in the dark, then I wouldn't have to. I would not have done the thread, but I could not find it. Okay, so actually I did not just show you what I was doing. All right, so we have the loop, right? We have the loop. Well, we need to triple thread this. So then we take this loop and then we grab the working end of our thread and we just pull it through that loop like so, as far as you want. Because the longer the better, right? And then just string that, pull that down like so. And we'll have 3 working threads at the same time. And as we go along, we'll just do that loop thing again. As you see, there's where it loops together. We'll just do that loop thing again as we continue to go. All right, so the first thing we need to do is a magic ring. And I totally forgot we're doing a magic ring. So we don't need to do this little slip knot. Silly me. Magic ring it is. It's just another element of control to hold on here, right? It's okay. There we go. Okay, now we're back in business. Loosen this up a little bit. And we're going to do 6 single crochets in the magic ring. But first, I'm going to go ahead and grab a stitch marker, which I forgot to mention in the beginning. Let's go with this blue one here. I love these. They're little spirals. They're metal spirals, so they don't bend and snap and break like the plastic ones do. And they just slide on so nice like that. And they come in this lovely little tin of 50. And those also are listed below in the description box if you just have to snag some. Okay, so 6 single crochets in the ring, and we are working yarn under to keep those stitches nice and tight like an amigurumi. We don't want the polyfill stuffing to show through or any of that. So this yarn under method helps keep the holes at a minimum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here is 6. And we're just going to close this up. There we go. The thread can be awkward in the beginning, but once you get going with it, it's not so bad. It's just this beginning magic ring bit. All right, so next we're going to increase. Let me move this guy over. Okay. So we're increasing, so 2 in each stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 6. As you see, our loop is coming up a little bit. It's not quite there yet. But let me straighten that out some more. Seven and 8. And the last 2 for 12. All right, so now our loop is bopping back up here. So we're just going to do what we did before. Go into that loop, grab that other thread, and just pull. Boom. And then straighten this out. Okay. Easy peasy. There we go. Oh, those loops came off there. Okay. So I'm going to do this last stitch again. Looks like all those loops came off of my hook. Okay, there we go. There's 12. Okay. Tighten this up. So next that was our increase. Next we're going to do 1 round of just regular 12. So what this is the top section that's going to line up with the top of the hilt. So this is going to sit on here like so. So there's that 12. And next we are going to make the edging for where we're going to connect these. So then another round of 12, just doing back loops. All right, so there is that round, and here's our edge. So now we need to do 11 rounds of single crochet. So you can go ahead and mark each one as you use your stitch marker as you go. I'm just going to count each round and then mark it rather than worry about moving a stitch marker. If you need a stitch marker, use a stitch marker. Okay. And this is just in both loops. Easy peasy. Okay, there is our first 12. So I will mark that off. Okay, and you're also going to go ahead and start stuffing as you go so that you kind of keep it firm and going. I'm not going to stuff it yet, that's not enough, but I will also stuff it with the tails here. I'm not worried about cutting them out, and I'm not worried about this coming loose because, like I said, all of this is going to be stitched to the top of this. Okay. So I'm going to work through the remaining 10 rounds, and I will see you along the way. Okay, so I've done 5 rounds. I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of stuffing in here, a little at a time. We don't want it to be too bulky and poofy. We don't want to push the base out too much either. So just like that, just a little bit as I go. And it's adjustable later. See, I'm starting to push it down. That's not what I want. I want to kind of keep that as flat as possible. There we go. So this is 5 rounds in. So I have 6 more to go. Right, so there are 9 rows done now, 9. I'm going to stuff a little bit more. You can see in there. So I have 2 more rounds to do. And then we're going to start to decrease. I have to push it down the edges like this to kind of get it firm on the sides, if that makes sense. All right, so 2 more rounds to go. Okay, so here are the last 2 rounds. I'm going to put a tiny bit of stuffing in there, because now we are going to decrease. Well, this is going to make the round end of our saber blade. Okay, so now we're just going to be decreasing 6 times down to 6. I'm going to be doing invisible decreases. So we have 6 stitches around, and I'm going to try to stuff a tiny bit more stuffing in there just because it needs a little bit more. Before we close this up. All right, now take all of our loops. I know, there's quite a few. And we're going to trim them all. Because we do have to sew this up with everything together. So we keep consistency. Now I'm just going to stitch around to close it up. You definitely want to kind of shape it as you go. So make sure it does kind of have that more rounded end. That's the look you're going for. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now I'm just going to go back and forth a little bit down the side. Kind of looks like a pickle. But if you choose another color, you know, whatever lightsaber color you prefer, as I showed earlier, the different options. Okay, so I'm just going to come down here, and this is where I'm going to finish this off because it's going to be hidden and I'm not worried about it at all. There we are. Here's our base. And there's the top, and this is going to go together like so right now. Okay, so we need our black yarn for this. We've got a little yarn bark in here. 1 second, friends. All right. So I like to find the back on both of them and start there. So that would be right here and right here. So we need a slip knot. And we are going to single crochet. So let me make sure I've got where all my front loops are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay. Sometimes it's hard to see where they are, and that's why I was just counting around. So, and this is absolutely super simple. We're just single crocheting all the way around. It's going to feel awkward for a minute while it gauges itself out, but once we start getting them together, it will settle. And you can hold it sideways like this. That will help. Here is 12. And then I like, because there's always that weird gap, I like to come back over here in this first one and come over to back to that 12 and do another. Just like so. And now that's going to come down here. See, and here is how we put together. It kind of gives it that fun little bit. Now we're going to tie this off with fairly long tail. And we're going to weave this around and kind of stabilize it some more. So we're going to kind of whip stitch a bit on there. Okay, so we're going to take our yarn needle. So that's kind of loose. You see how that's kind of loose? We're just going to stitch it back onto itself to stabilize it a little bit more. You don't want it, getting loose on the end of your flute and then looking floppy. That's not a good lightsaber, right? I don't mind the way this looks with the holes on there. I think it looks kind of cool and gives it that mechanical look a little bit. So I do like that. Okay, so I'm going to tie this off. Actually, I'm going to leave this here because I might. So my little secret to doing this is I never know how long I need my tail to be. So I'm going to leave this tail just in case I need part of it to finish these lines. Okay. Next, we're going to do this bottom base. And that's just surface crocheting all the way around with our 4mm hook. And then we'll come back and do the lines. Okay. And I always like to start at the back because that's where the mess can be, right in the back. So we're just going into our first stitches, our regular single crochets, not the knit stitch or the waistcoat stitch. So now to finish this off, I'm just going to go back into this stitch space here, out there, and I pull this underneath right here and yarn over and pull that down. And this is going to be a long tail because we're going to be doing the edge work with this. And hopefully it's long enough. Okay. So I'll pull this through. And that'll get tightened up in there. So then before we go further, I'm going to tie this guy off. So the reason also, there's two purposes to this lovely base. Is one, it's going to help give solid stability to hold on to your flute head joint. And also it kind of gives it a little decoration, you know. Okay. So this guy here, boom. All right, so we need 2 on the back, 2 on this, wait, 2 on 1, 2, 3, 4. We need 5. So what I like to do is make sure that I can find the front and do an even number on the front because then our button goes in the center of that. And then I work the rest around. And however it works out is how it works out. So if you want 6 lines, do 6 lines, whatever works for you. There's no perfection here. Now, there's 2 ways you can do this. I just did whip stitches on this one. If you want surface crochet it, you can, or kind of do the loop stitch. This is just thicker, like this one, and I don't know, it kind of looks messier. Or you could leave it and not do lines. It's your lightsaber, they're all different. I just kind of did a general idea. So, this is the back. You can do vertical lines like this, or you could do horizontal lines. It's entirely your design for your lightsaber, because like I said, every lightsaber is personal to its wielder. I'm getting better as I go, right? So I start in the back, because in the back, it can be messy. So this is our front part. I'm aiming to come up here and also to kind of close that up. So I'm just going to kind of weave down here in the bottom in the black part. And then I will be coming back up this way. And so that's what I'm going to be doing. I'll be going up, over, and down. And I'll probably end up here, and then over, and I'll probably end up right here. Okay, so I just did 4. The back's going to be open like the front. It'll be cute. And we are almost done. We just have to put a button on. Then I will show you how it glows in the dark. Pretty cool. Ta-da! Hope you like this. I think it's like super cute. All right, so our button, like I said, I just have these beads. They're plastic and there's different colors. So I think I'm just gonna go with a gold one. Or maybe a rose gold one. And need just some regular hand sewing needles. And then I just have some thread that kind of matches. If you're curious what color this is, then here's the color. I mean, it looks kind of like a coppery color. A bronzy coppery color. Okay, so here. Now everything inside is still soft, so I'm not worried about putting anything rough in here that's going to scratch my flute. So we have the thread, and it's just simple. If you know how to sew, I'm just going to go around inside and out. And just like a regular button, we're going to wrap it around a little bit. Go back through to the other side. And then just going to tie this off. And then we're finished. There we go. How exciting. So now we have a Christmas hat, a Santa hat for holiday concerts. And here now, if you are somebody you know who ends up playing any Star Wars pieces at any point, now you have a Flute-Saber. How fun is that? So, okay, I'm going to turn the lights down so I can turn this off and you can see it glow. Okay, are you ready? It's going to be so fun. 1, 2, 3. And there it glows. Now if you have more light, it'll glow brighter. Or you can use more strands of the thread or sunshine light. I do not have windows in my room where I'm working right now, so there's no sunshine on this. It's just my lights from above. I think that's pretty cool. Anyways, so I hope you love this. I absolutely love my Flute-Sabers, and I'm going to clean this up, and I'll see you in just a minute. I had a lot of fun with this one, and to be honest with you, I had a lot of fun making this whole set of these. for my flute section for my concert, and we played 3 Star Wars pieces, and it was absolutely a joy. So here's how it looks on the end of the flute. Of course, you can do any color that you choose. Mine, of course, is Yoda's green. A little OG there. I don't know. Do what makes you happy. Lots of fun. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was inspiring or just, fun to watch because it's something different, something new. If you have not subscribed yet, please consider doing so and smashing that like button to show me some love. Also, make sure that notification bell dings so that you can be apprised when my new videos and my live streams come out. So I hope that I will see you in those soon. Also, I want to say thank you again for hanging out with me today. I hope this was a lot of fun for you. Definitely something different, something a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Out of this world, maybe? Into the next universe? I don't know. So, thank you again for hanging out with me today. And I want to leave with, may the force be with you. I'll see you next time.